Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to us. Whether you're in heaven or hell, we are where podcasts can be found. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wild world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And joining us from the bowels of hell, we've got a crazy lemur, Bree.
I've been here all my life, and I have lots of things to say from the underworld.
Excellent.
Yeah, so as you can tell, this is the much anticipated, at least for us, discussion on Helluva Boss. But before we get there, something else we want to talk about. We have the pilot for Glitch's new animated series, The Gaslight District.
Alrighty, so I was watching it with a friend of mine, and we were both like, at first, when we started, we were like, I don't know, because it's like, oh, it's another heaven hell kind of thing. But then by the end of it, man, we really friggin' loved it.
Yeah, I really loved it too.
And it's a few small touches that help make this a really good first impression. And there's a reason why it's doing pretty well, all things considered, for indie pilots and such. One, it's not just a literal heaven versus hell thing. I think that one of the best world building points that they make sure to hammer home is the fact that it's heaven and earth, but earth has been run over by hell, essentially. So it adds a different layer to the fact that, yeah, I mean, there are a few demonic people, but it's got its own quote unquote humanness to it. It doesn't seem like it's going to go into the messy, slightly unexplained politics of like what Has Been and Helluva Boss does with their heaven and hell thing. Two, the characters. I think the dynamic between the father and the daughter, while a little generic in the fact that it's an overprotective dad, protect his daughter trope, there's love between them, but it's also a really rocky relationship. And it seems like it's going to really focus on that, because there's that whole scene when they are raiding heaven for the egg, and that moment where she's just like, "You're proud of me, right?" He doesn't answer right away. He takes a moment, and then it's just like, "I'll meet you at the stairway." And this show, it does a really good job of setting up character chemistry.
It also just has,
Definitely.
in my opinion, some of the best animation that Glitch has done.
It's such a unique style. I described it as a friend. It's like a cross between 3D and stop motion.
Yeah,
it's
like
doing that
it has,
stylized faux stop motion look where it's doing everything on like every few frames and making the movements way snappier. And I do like the designs of all the characters. I think, well, first of all, the bread guy has a great design. I love.
Oh, the bread guy is the best.
And I mean, like, yeah, some of the other ones are maybe not as inspired, like the goopy zombie guy. But I like the butcher having a cleaver in his head at all times. And I don't know if this is a design decision, but I'm wondering if, like, the two sides of his brain, like, switch back and forward because of the cleaver in his head. It's really snappy. It's got really good designs, even though it can be a very ugly show. Like, not bad ugly, where you're like, ugh, these designs didn't translate well. It's more like, it's so icky.
it's gross, it's grotesque, it's all deliberate, so it works.
It's very much feels at home in Hot Topic in the best way. And I was trying to describe it to a friend. I said, look, if you're into like Beetlejuice and like Penny Dreadfuls, you'll definitely be into this. And then I had another friend, and as soon as he pointed it out, I totally agreed with it. A lot of like the inspiration like almost feels kind of like Burton-esque or even something like 9.
It's in the eyes, especially with the main protagonist.
No,
like those are
totally see
very
that.
Burton-esque eyes.
They are very Burton-esque. Well, the main character, Melancholy Hill, is very Burton-y. Just the mummy design.
Yeah, like she is a Tim Burton no-see.
Especially the blue skin. I think Burton used for Corpse Bride.
And Sally has that too, because they're technically corpses, so that makes sense why they're blue.
And there's just like another... What I like about this show with the character dynamics is that it feels like a fresh new dynamic, because as much as I love the Digital Circus series, part of it feels like I've seen these characters before. Mike and I have talked to us a couple of different times. And here, it's like I said, we got the disgruntled father-daughter dynamic. We have the shady, maybe not so trustworthy Mud, who looks like the tar man from Nightmare Before Christmas. If he just let the ooze go a little bit below his skull. Then we have, of course, Breadhead, who is a doofy, himbo-y bit of muscle for the group. He seems like a gentle giant character who's, his whole head is just bread. His tongue is a baguette. So,
which is such an amazing design choice. But the other thing that I've kind of noticed for it compared to like Glitch's other shows, I kind of feel like this is their first truly like adult leaning show that they've done.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's not just like cursing and whatever or slight innuendo. This is very adult in its tone, especially with the fact that in this world where everyone lives forever and are immortal, there is a fate worse than death if you can never die while wearing cement shoes as you are plunged into the slimy green ocean of that world. And you're just stuck there. There's no death. There's no like shark to come and eat you or anything like that. There's a lot of great world building. And the antagonists, who are, it's Heaven, obviously. The Angel Mother, first of all, love her design. It looks like a mix of a Bloodborne boss and someone making an ostrich or a stork with a sock puppet. Just especially with the neck and how long it is. The robots with the, I guess, brains inside of them. Like, everything has like a vulture aesthetic with Heaven, especially the angels. Like, it's not as just like beautiful and poetic. It
very biblically accurate angel vibes.
Yeah.
It's like what Devil May Cry 4 was like doing with its angels, where it had like faux angel knights and such, where they still were very demonic looking.
I was also kind of thinking, not to the exact same extent, but Neon Genesis Evangelion with their more monstrous angel
the first
designs.
Angel and such. And of course, like, it has some mild Nazi flavoring to the soldiers and such. I mean, I get where they're going for with this. And the underlying mystery of why is there a human in the Gaslight District? What happens if you are found to be human? It's just a good pilot. It does everything that you want. It has great characters, dynamic action. Like, this might be the most dynamic action Glitch has done. Barring that I haven't seen the Murder Drones show that they've done, but there's just so many wild camera angles. I kind of worry how much this would have cost. Because this is
Digital Circus.
like, I mean, thank goodness that Glitch has all those art grants and support from their government for the arts.
I know. Imagine that. Like, I wouldn't know.
No, it's like, why can't we do this here in the States, man? And I don't think I recognize any of the actors involved, or that
Michael Kovac is
Kovac is in it, but you can't even really tell that it's him because he uses the other voice that he doesn't use as much.
Which character did he play?
He's Diligence.
Oh, yeah. No, just really great impression, because unfortunately around the same time, Lumi and the Great Big Galaxy came out around the same time. And while I did enjoy for the most part, it felt like it was very much way too much build-up was focused on the world building, which, hey, that's kind of something we'll talk about with Helluva Boss. What it decides to focus on that hurts everything else. I'm glad that they released just as like an animatic or an unfinished bit of animation. I am so happy. It seems like indie animators are starting to really figure that out, saying like, hey, we don't need to do a fully animated pilot to become popular. Especially with the I really, really, really don't want to be a magical girl pilot doing gangbusters and being...
Like, thank God.
Like, I'm glad they weren't turned off by the fact that they did not reach their Kickstarter goal, but I just thought the pilot was okay. And it doesn't help that this came out around the same time as Gaslight District, and Gaslight District has so much personality to it. And I will say, though, it does have a few minor grievances, or at least I have some minor grievances for it. One, I think it does a lot of the things that a lot of indie pilots do, where it's just like, it's really noisy, and not just like in sound, but in the fact that there's a lot going on screen, and it can be a little hard to watch. Mostly probably because of YouTube's compression bullshit, but, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That's gotta be part of it.
Just for experience, trying to render for things for YouTube is an absolute nightmare.
Or it's like, you know, there's like so much going on screen, like so much movement and such. It's like, okay, calm down. I am getting a little exhausted watch. That's really the only minor gripe I have.
Sensory overload?
Yeah, sensory overload. It's constantly moving, and it's just like, let me breathe for a second.
I didn't have too many complaints either. Like, most of mine were like minor, like, story nitpicky things. Like, I feel like the motivations for Mel were kind of like a little, okay, yeah, it's a little convenient. Like, I get we're setting everything up. Like, I don't think it's a fatal flaw or anything. It's just kind of like, okay.
Things you can't help but notice, but based on what I've seen from the Amazing Digital Circus, and I know these are two different creative teams, but I have to trust Nick Zoppo. I have to trust that he knows where the story is going, and a lot of the blemishes that we see up front are smoothed out by the time this season ends.
And here's the thing, you know, someone who's written one complete pilot and is about to write a second one. There's only so many things you could do this set up and like have an emotional core. Like, there's only so many things that you can do. Like, you can't fully explain like everything, because there's this one thing in writing that I absolutely can't stand. It's like, we have the intro and then we're expositioning everything like straight on, like not as like an ironic joke or anything like that, but just we waste our time doing that. I'm like, cool, that's great world building. What the hell does this have to do with the emotional story that we're trying to tell here? But in all honesty, like, for Gaslight, I only kind of looked more through it as a cone because I'm a writer, but I had to really go hard to like try to nitpick. And there's never going to be something that's like, oh my God, this is like no flaws whatsoever. But I feel like as a pilot overall, I really think Glitch and Gaslight's team hit it out of the park. And this is my controversial hot take. I kind of like it better than Digital Circus.
I will say it took a little longer for me to like Digital Circus. It took me until like the third episode. This is one of those pilots where it's like, oh, I am in love with it from like day one.
Oh yeah, no, it's for me like I have them mostly packed away, but I legit probably have about like 60 Nightmare Before Christmas figures and like lots of collectibles and like hundreds of pins. Like, this is very much geared towards me. So
yes, am I a little annoyed with how some indie teams are like trying to be like, okay, so people like this and that, so let's make something similar instead of just trying to be their own thing? Yeah, I can understand the annoyance of that, but I still feel like this is still a fresh and interesting world that they've built up. So I'm not so bothered by it, where it's just like, wherein Mike and I watch so many isekai power fantasies, it's just like, what are you doing different? What's the stake? What's the gimmick? What's the hook to get me in? And then they do nothing.
Basically, everything to some extent is derivative. Like, there's no way you can write something 100% completely original. This is my idea. Please do not steal. As you said, they do things that are like different, and they could have done things that, you know, they were a little bit easier. They could have gone like the slightly more cliche route, and I think it still would have been a good show. But the fact that, especially with that ending, the choices that they made, it's so interesting.
That's the thing. All these indie pilots have to be compelling from day one, and sometimes a lot of them just don't. They're like, we'll give you a tease, a bit of cheese before you enjoy the full meal. And it's just like, well, if you can't make the full meal, then you're setting us up with a lot of nothing. And I love a lot of these pilots, like Port by the Sea. I thought that one was pretty solid and what have you. But it's like this and Monkey Wrench are the ones that like really grab me in terms of how they tell their stories and their characters, set up their world in a way that doesn't feel like it's so much world building, which I think Lumi kind of suffers from, where there's just so much build up. The stuff with the main characters is so, it's fine, but it's just a little too familiar of what we're looking for and such. But anyway, Glitch is doing well. I wish we had more companies like Glitch so we can just give indie animation a shot at being profitable or worthwhile, because otherwise we're still in that area where it's not very viable right now.
Which, before we go into Helluva, I said this in like an unrelated group chat, like literally like last Sunday. It was actually in regards to Lumi, and basically the long story short is what I said. Well, it's not even so much what I said, but I was saying in ingredients to what basically a lot of people in the industry and the animation community have been saying for a while, is that independent animation free on YouTube is not sustainable long term.
Exactly. Like, god dang, either make a Patreon, charge for your episodes, or make sure there's like some way we can keep supporting indie animation, because otherwise so many of these teams are just gonna freaking bankrupt themselves. Like,
yeah,
it's like, anyway, or, you know, let's segue into Helluva Boss with the recent announcement that Amazon Prime is basically fronting the bill for the rest of season 3 and 4 of Hazbin Hotel and season 3 and 4 of Helluva Boss. Like, VisiPop still gets to keep the rights, and after a certain period of exclusivity on Prime, will release the episodes on YouTube for Helluva Boss. And we need more of that, especially with how like the Amazing Digital Circus is doing it also, where Netflix is like, hey, you just make your show a streaming exclusive on Netflix, but you could still release the episodes on YouTube and have full copyright control over it. So, like with this and the whole Ryan Coogler thing that is apparently blowing up Hollywood.
I'm like, yes, burn, baby, burn.
I know everyone's just like, I don't want Hollywood to fall apart. And it's like, man, we need Hollywood to fall apart. At least this current state of Hollywood.
Yeah, no, this fucker needed to burn like at least 2 decades ago.
Seriously.
Like right after the Avengers got big, it's like, okay, let's burn it all down and restart. But now it's too late, and now we're dealing with the consequences of it. So
yeah, the Hollywood's blue screened itself, and you know, Hollywood.exe stopped working. Please reset.
No, exactly. Having these indie creators keeping the control and rights over their own shows while they still get stuff like Prime fronting the bill, or just getting a wider audience with Netflix, that's good. That's what needs to happen. We can't just stay indie forever, y'all. it's not freaking healthy and it's not viable right now.
No.
Especially the fact that y'all aren't supporting everything again. So we've talked about this anyway. So,
well, the thing is, I mean, when you think about it, it actually makes sense. I mean, independent film and like Hollywood, like, how do you think so many of those independent films end up at the Oscars? Like, they find financial backing, like they get a bigger distributor, and that's just the reality of the ecosystem.
Especially with how we saw Flow win. A film that came out of nowhere, won basically everything under the sun festival-wise, getting up to the Annies, the Golden Globes, and... No, wait, I think The Wild Robot won the Golden Globes, but still.
Nope, that was Flow too.
Oh.
Yeah, like that was the reason I was like, oh my god, it's going to win it all.
Especially with the fact that, like, a lot of people either don't know or forgot the same director of Flow made a film all by himself. It was a huge favorite, or at least a fan favorite film that hit the festival circuit. Did not get a distributor. He was like, I'm going to do everything all by myself. And then it's like, it died. Nobody knew about it outside of the festival circuit or film goers. But now with Flow, it's like, okay, Janus Films is picking y'all up. At least you now have a chance. And luckily, Janus Films had a very good strategy with them to let Flow go all the way. So if we can have that happen with Flow,
on Max too.
Yeah, like if we can have that with Flow, with whatever's going on with Sinners, the Amazing Digital Circus, and with Helluva Boss, that's good. You need some, like, it's a compromise. You need some leverage and help from the industry. However you feel about Hazbin Hotel or Helluva Boss, whether you love it or hate it or think it's the spawn of Satan himself, for those who think that, calm the hell down.
Seriously.
It's a good thing for these creatives. But let's talk about Helluva Boss. This is the other Vizzy Pop show that Mike and I have. Like, we weren't like going out of our way to avoid talking about this.
Things have been, when we're covering the world of animation, we can't possibly get to everything.
We get to more of the world of animation than most animation YouTubers, but still, I digress. For me, it was more like, okay, we can finally put some time in the schedule to talk about this show. And then the discourse got really stupid. And it was just like, I don't want to participate in that, so I kept putting it off until, well, now. So it's like, fine, we will talk about Helluva Boss because people love watching Helluva Boss and Hazbin Hotel related content.
And yes, they do. That's mostly my familiar, because I originally kind of watched as a background show, but probably for like a good year or so, I helped edit content for it. So you kind of have to know everything that's going on. So I have been more horrifically familiar with the fandom and everything extending with the show.
Oh, gosh. This is why we're setting up this episode as not to talk about the overall show, but just discuss... I mean, we'll talk about the overall show, but we're not going to do it like bit by bit by bit. We're just going to talk in general about it, with some of the questions that have... Because with what happened with this show, and essentially when indie animation tried to have that first big universe-making explosion for the indie animation scene, to now, the show is like became like the indie darling, and then it was just like, you either love this show or you just, for some reason, have so much hatred for it. Which...
And Vivian Madrano, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So... let's talk about the first question I have, like, for this quote-unquote debate. And this is mostly going to be about Helluva Boss. We'll make some tangential, like, mention of Hazbin, even though Mike and I have already talked about Hazbin Hotel. So, did Vizzy Pop... I think lie is too strong of and negative of a word. Did Vizzy Pop mislead, like, audiences about what her shows were truly going to be? Like, did she pull a Peter Molyneux and promise one kind of show, like, experience, and then the end result was wildly different than what we got?
I don't think so. And the reason why I say that is because I think, and I don't remember how this was sold at the time the pilot was released, but I think what happened is the show just evolved into how season 2 ended. I don't think she sold us a false bill of goods. I think the show just evolved in a way that most shows kind of transform from their pilot to their conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at season 1, like towards the later half, like there is hints that they were going into this direction. So the fact that season 2 kind of had that switch up, to me personally, wasn't entirely shocking. If you were shocked, I don't think you were paying attention. My issues are more like, I feel like we're kind of missing a little bit of the transition to get there, but the idea of what the show wanted to be, I never had a problem with. To me, it felt just like a natural evolution because, yeah, work is comedy, but it's like the reality is like, okay, how many different assassination things, can we do before the shtick starts to get old?
That's my kind of answer. It's like, kind of, but not really. I don't think she misled people with what kind of show this was going to be. On one hand, I get it. Some people were way more interested in it being a weird, quirky workplace comedy, Looney Tunes kind of thing where shenanigans ensue with every assassination attempt. And then were, I guess, blindsided by the fact that it turned into a deeply character-driven drama about Blitz's history with Stolas and the fact that a lot of these characters are broken emotionally and maturity-wise, where it's all about, can these characters fix the problems that they've brought upon themselves? I agree, Brie. I think there needed to be a better way to transition it, especially since, like, it was interesting rewatching season 1 of Helluva Boss because you can see, like, tiny little sprinkles of what they were going to do, like, throughout the entire first season. But then season 2 happens, and it just seems like it, like, comes to a grinding halt to then, like, prematurely switch into character-driven drama. Like, at the very least, around the halfway point of the season.
One noticeable difference between season 1 and season 2 is Brendan Rogers is no longer, like, the co-screenwriter. He wrote pretty much all of season 1 with Vivi, except for the Ozzy episode. And then he only wrote one episode of season 2.
Which episode was that?
Wasn't that
the
Ghostfuckers?
Oh, yeah. That seems like something he would definitely write.
Which, by the way, did you watch his latest video that he shot, like, in between it let Level Up in Vegas?
I did
God,
not.
I love Brandon Rogers. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Like, once we're done, you have to watch.
So, yeah, it's like, I don't think she snake oiled sold us something like an elixir of some kind.
An elixir of lies, the throne of lies, if you will.
No, or like that Family Guy quote, "He's just a big fat phony." No, like, I feel like people need to, like, the way people criticize Vizzy as a creator and a person, chill, y'all. Like,
honestly, every time someone attacks her, like, I don't care, like, like what she did or didn't do, it kind of endears her more to me as a person, because first of all, if you bring in someone's, like, body image and, like, other personal crap into it to criticize a cartoon about a DILF Al, fuck you, just straight up.
Oh god, yeah,
Seriously.
that weird fan animation. I haven't seen it, but the fact that it, like, how it ends, it's like, it's like someone who wants an edgy, dark story who doesn't understand why. It's the whole Berserk situation again. People want to keep making dark fantasy shows like Berserk, but then they don't understand.
They don't understand why Berserk is so good.
Yeah, Berserk doesn't work because it's just dark fantasy and monsters assaulting humans or whatever. It's the personal dilemma between Guts and Griffith. Like, that's what drives the show. That's what drives the whole... The point of the show is Guts dealing with the consequences of what happened between the two of them. And here, that's, like... It's just interesting how people have framed the sudden shift. Maybe it could have just used a few more episodes just to...
Yeah, that's why I think it's more a thing. Like, if this had like 2 or 3 more episodes, I feel like a lot of the issues I had with season 2, I feel like they would have been addressed. Would they have been addressed in a way that I would have been in love with? Probably that's debatable, but it just, I feel like it just needed a little bit more time to cook.
Yeah.
That's the problem with so many shows these days. Like, Hollywood doesn't want to give you enough. Like, we're not going back to the 22 episode thing, sadly. So we either have to deal with the anime style 13 episodes or just be lucky and tell a story within 8. Which, again, like, I think if you want to criticize the show, like, the show becoming something entirely different, I think Has-Been kind of falls into that one a little more.
Yeah, I feel like Has-Been is far more egregious, but I put a big asterisk with that because allegedly they originally were ordered for 12 episodes and they had to retrofit it to 8, which you can definitely tell that that's the case, and they didn't know if they were going to get a second season. Had they known, I feel like that show would have been structured way differently.
I agree with that.
Because it is like, you watch Has-Been and it's like, isn't it supposed to be about a hotel? The hotel is just a backdrop. It's just like a one-spot location for the entire season to take place. Why are we focusing on this heaven and hell stuff right now? Why? This is like either two-season story arcs or like something.
Yeah, like I said this to a friend, legit. I feel like the pilot episode in a normal world, like the confrontation with Adam, that would have been the season 1 finale.
Exactly. Like, yeah, meeting Adam and then going into, yeah, again, like we said. And it's like how Gentry Chow versus the Underworld happened. They were supposed to have, I think, 22 or so episodes, or maybe 24. And then Netflix was like, hey, we're cutting back on stuff. Can you wrap this up in 20? And that's why the last third feels like it's just rushing on through, because it has like 10 more episodes of plot they have to shove into 3 episodes. So,
which is
and
unfortunate.
Gentry Chow is one of the more well executed things. Like,
exactly, it's such a good show. I wish more people watched it. So
Same.
here's the second question. Like I said, the whole Prime deal with Has-Been and Helluva, great. It's fantastic. Did Vizzy-Pop get the Helluva Boss Prime deal because season 2 didn't do well? Like, it's amazing how you watch the viewer count of season 1. Like, yes, it goes down, and there's probably a whole billion things of context to put into it, like the pandemic and all that stuff. But when the show starts capping off at 20 million, which by no means is a small feat, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But with how the season was structured, something, I don't know, it's like the tinfoil hat part can come out where it's like, since Has-Been Hotel was such a hit for Prime, maybe that gave Vizzy some leeway to make a deal with Prime about Helluva Boss joining up with Has-Been on the service. Like I said, I don't think Helluva Boss Season 2 did poorly, mind you. It's not like it went from 20 million to like only 1,000 viewers or anything like that. It didn't die.
I think it's just a lot of it's just more competition, because back when season 1 came out, there was really nothing comparable, because, you know, Has Been Hotel in terms of a series, like it was just that one pilot, and then it was kind of like radio silence for like a good 3 or 4 years. So
yeah,
that was sustaining, and I don't think the quote unquote indie scene really fully had blown up at that point yet.
Yeah, well, it wasn't until like maybe a year after the Helluva Boss pilot that, oh, now we're starting to get a rise in indie animation. But to answer your question, it doesn't really make sense that like Vizzy got the Prime deal because of season 2's decline in viewership. The reason for the decline in viewership is just because the episodes were released kind of...
They're very more sporadic, because season 2, I mean, we'll probably never get the full story, but obviously there were some production issues going on, whether it's, you know, there was issues of Has Been that Viv had to deal with, and she couldn't put her full focus there, or if it was financial. I mean, the actual answer, I feel like, to this isn't that important. I think the end result is that they had a less consistent release schedule, and I feel like a lot of people fell off and, like, you know, found new special interest shows. And the fact that the show kind of was turning into something else probably also turned a lot of people away. But in regards to with Amazon, I feel like Amazon was more like, hey, you have another show, let's, you know, we'll help you greenlight more episodes, because in Amazon case, for the deal of Helluva Boss, they get exclusivity for 30 days, and they don't really have to spend money in development. They have like a pre-established IP that they could just point money into it and get money back.
right.
Exactly.
Because, yes, I mean, we'll talk about season 2 of Helluva Boss, mostly because it is a narrative mess in a lot of ways that leads to a lot of my issues with the show. Yeah, I don't think it's fully because that, I mean, like I said, who knows what happened. I will say maybe the financial situation wasn't great. I don't want to say it was like, because I brought this up last time we talked about indie animation. It was the fact that, wow, you're spending a lot of money on Harvey Gillian and John Waters, and they're not doing a whole lot. And then Kesha comes back for 3
Which,
lines.
by the way, I think you're just going to Kesha. That might have been also one of the reasons that fucked them. Because if you recall, they couldn't release the finale of season 1 because Kesha was still in dispute with her label with the Dr. Luke lawsuit.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Forgot about that.
Part of me feels like she did get part of this deal mostly because Has Been was such a huge hit, but also the fact that maybe, like, I remember early on they promised it was going to be a 4-season show. It wasn't just a Prime deal thing. But something tells me that if this deal didn't go through, Has Been may have not have moved forward. Like, maybe not that dramatic, but why would you take this deal then if you could just continue on willy-nilly unless there was some kind of financial situation? I mean, even like the shorts that were made in between the episodes had to use a different animation studio to help finish. And we're not going to talk about any of the behind-the-scenes drama or whether Vizzy Pop, I don't know, spent more money on Broadway tickets or something. No, that's not important. We're talking about the show itself, not whatever internal or whatever.
That may or may not be true, because people just make shit up because, I don't know, they were bored. But like, in terms, because we were talking about this in like our group chat, like, I'm pretty sure in terms of Broadway, she probably knows a lot of those people and is probably being comp tickets.
Probably.
Exactly, with all the Broadway connections and such. It also probably didn't help that there were a lot more musical numbers in season 2, and that that takes a lot of time and resources. So, I don't know. I think that this was going to happen anyway. Like, I feel like no matter what happened with season 2, Vizzy was still and Primer's probably going to make a deal. But
Yeah, because
I do wonder if a little bit of that was we need the financial backing of a giant company, which, hey, like they say in that teaser announcement, animation takes a lot of time and money.
Yep.
And plus, we now get to finally see those two worlds actually interact with one another, and they can't like
right, without any legal hiccups.
Yeah, or they can't do like the Marvel Netflix thing where they're just like, oh yeah, I saw the Hulk launch himself around the world, like across the city the other day. And it's like, oh, what do you mean? And it's like, oh, my lawyers won't let me talk about that. Or something like that. So it's that thing where it's like in food shows, like food competition shows. If you watch a bunch of them, you probably know half of the contestants that come on from like the Bravo series of like Top Chef, and when they move over to Food Network to become Food Network icons. For some reason, for the longest time, they could not talk about the other show they were on, even though it's like, yeah, I was on a lot of food competition shows. Which one? And they're like, can't say it.
Our good friends, Mr. NDA.
Yeah. Seriously, folks, don't break those. So the next,
or you will die.
Yes. So next question: does the writing and what they focus on in Helluva Boss hamper the series? Now we're only going off of season 1 and 2 and some of the shorts. We don't know what's going to happen with season 3 and 4. Maybe because they now have a season 3 and 4, they can let it breathe and they can do a little more and help build up the world and let stories pace themselves out more. But it seems like a big issue with Helluva Boss, and a lot of Hazbin Hotel also, is the way they focus. Like, they choose what's going to be the focus. And yeah, I feel like I would have loved more characters or found more interesting things about the story if they were more of the focus. But instead, like the what's the hitman? The one that they got
Striker?
Norman Reedus for some reason,
and then he got replaced by the guy who plays Husk in the Hazbin pilot.
Yeah, him. The assassin guy was like super badass and such in the season 1 episode, and of course, when you have Norman Reedus oozing cool, it's going to be a fun character to watch. And then out of nowhere, when season 2, he got pathetic. He was like,
yeah, he turned a little bitch.
Yeah. So what happened there? Why was that never focused on? But instead, we're focusing on like story beats that don't really matter in the long run or whatever.
Yeah, like, oh my god, you unhappy campers, which I feel like,
oh god,
that's the one episode that everyone, regardless of how you feel about the show, universally agrees, wow, this actually kind of sucks.
Was my least favorite episode of season 2, but
and it's like there were story beats that were going to be interesting. We were finally introduced to Blitz's sister, and yet,
and it's handled in like the worst way.
There's
like,
just
like
no
how we
time.
even find out that is his sister is like very out of nowhere.
Exactly. And instead we have to focus on Moxie being the worst he's ever been. This is like Mulan 2 Mushu levels of just like
legit, it is. And like the weird thing is it's basically the same thing from like the Harvest Moon Festival, but done way worse. Like, why are we doing the same thing again? We've already learned this lesson. There's more interesting things we can do.
And Moxie just becomes so unlikable. Like, we'll talk about the situations about Hazbin and Helluva's like female characters in a moment, because that's been a huge contingency point with everyone, so we kind of have to talk about it. But Moxie just like weirdly unlikable when he's mostly the most sane person among the group. I don't know what happened with this show. And maybe because they were struggling with season 2, or maybe Vizzy had to focus way more on Has Been at the time. Who knows what's going on? Because sometimes characters just leave.
Right.
Like, we
yeah,
don't
because
hear...
that episode was not primarily written by Viv. That was written by Adam, and his last name is completely slipping me. But I think
Nealon?
he's also Nealon. I think he's also a writer on Has Been.
I think I don't know if this was just a mostly season 1 thing but it's also part of season 2. Luna just vanishes, or she's never a real focus on the show, like in a majority of the stories, except for parts of season 1. And then she comes around to the Hollywood episode to be the closing, like, moral of the story and such.
Yeah, before she kicks Splits in the nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Again, we don't know what happened or how long these episodes were in production, because this could have been around the same time Erica Lynn Beck was dealing with some extremely reasonable personal issues with the fact that her
boyfriend,
the fact that Billy Comets, like, around the same time passed away. Like, who knows why Erica Lynn Beck left a lot of the show. Like, again, who knows what happens, but the fact that they keep what's her name, the Stolas' ex-wife now?
Oh, Stella.
Stella, we are given no time to really flesh her out as a character, so she keeps ending up as like this weird one-note dumb evil person. And
no, she's like a cackling like wine mom. And the thing and this is like the biggest driving point to me, is like, you had the perfect setup to make her a really cool, sympathetic villain, because like in season 1, she's set up as like slightly sympathetic because she doesn't know, and she's rightfully pissed off at like this revelation. But instead of going to the complicated underlyings of like infidelity and, you know, why she would personally want to go after Stolas, no, she's just evil, and she's always been abusive. And, you know, Stolas is like this poor woobie that no one understands. And it's like, oh, come on, give me a fucking break.
Well, especially with the fact that, like, they, in season 2, the infamous his flashback of, Stolas and Blitz knew each other as kids, and Stolas was put into an arranged marriage by his dad, who was voiced by Jafar.
You know, like, I've unofficially nicknamed that episode Muppet Babies. It's like the Muppet Babies of Helluva Boss.
It really is.
And, like, to be clear, it's not like I don't enjoy Stella's, like, one-dimensional bitchy behavior. I love the moment where she broke to her brother that, like, Blitz was using the grimoire, like, against the, like, that was, like, wholly against the rules of hell. And he's just, like, he's getting so pissed off at her, and she's like, well, stop yelling at me.
Like, that was funny, but, like, it kind of brings up the question, like, why does the brother exist? Why couldn't it just all be Stella? Like,
that seems to happen a lot, especially with, like, the big twist reveal in Has Been, where you find out that Charlie's girlfriend is an ex-angel and such. And
even though it was, like, telegraphed from, like, 10 billion miles away.
It was, but then instead of having them talk to each other about the whole situation, no, we got to introduce another character to give Charlie the speech that she needs to hear, where it's like, wow, I was like,
wow, could we maybe just talk to each other?
It's like the whole thing that Cell Specs brought up about recent Disney films. Like, they love to have these camaraderie between, like, with these colorful cast of characters, but they like to split them up a bit too much. Mm-hmm. That's what happened with Has Been. Not as much as Helluva, but it happens at a few points.
A lot of conflicts would be resolved like quicker with characters actually talking to each other.
Right.
And working things out.
And, like, here's, like, my biggest contention, like, and this is the thing that the more I think about it, the dumber it is, with, like, Has Been Hotel and, like, Vaggie being an angel. It's like, how the hell does she not know that angelic weapons kill angels? I'm like, bitch, you were there. You were maimed. How could you, like, not know this?
But don't you understand, Brie? They had to have 2 musical numbers. They couldn't focus on stuff like logical reasoning.
No, we have to have our, duet with the girl from Encanto and Mimi from Rent, because that was clearly so important.
And listen, Vizzy is not the only creative writing all these episodes and setting up all these characters, but she is like the brainchild behind it. Does Vizzy have an issue with portraying morally flawed characters? Like, the whole point of this show is these characters are flawed as hell. They are broken. They are emotionally stunted. They can easily, at any point, cut off any, like, whatever remaining friendship and relationships that they have with one another, like, off out of their existence. But then it's like, I don't know if she wants to commit to that. Or it's like, oh, but I don't want my characters to be too unlikable. They gotta be a little likable. I mean, I don't know. What do y'all think?
I feel like that's a problem with, like, a lot of creators, like, do that. And I feel like because of who Helluva Boss's primary audience is that I feel like they're almost afraid that they can't have nuance, or like people will get mad or whatever. I mean, that's probably not the case, but I kind of feel like, because that's not a specifically like Bivsy Pop thing.
No, that's a lot of media in general.
Right. And I'm like, I'm sorry, people are messy. Like, let them be hot train wrecks like that. I live for mess. People conflate, being flawed and as being bad. I'm like, no, that makes you interesting and human, and your flaws make up your personality. I feel like this is almost kind of like a side effect of like social media and how it just damaged our like little monkey brains, is that if we're not like perfect, virtuous creatures, we should all fucking die and go to hell. Ha.
It's like the whole situation with the recent release of the Predator Badlands trailer. Everyone is so pissed off that the Predator is, like, the one that we're focusing on is not a fully trained badass right out of birth. And it's just like,
no, he's like a kid.
He's a young predator who has to work his way up to being a killer. Like, that's character growth. That's what you have to do. You can't just... They don't just come out of the womb or egg or whatever the heck a predator comes out of, like, fully, like, loaded with guns and blades.
They have to become warriors. Like, they have to have, like, the rite of passage.
I mean, that's why Prey was good. It was the predator going literally up the food chain, going from the mouse, the fox, the wolf, and then a bear. And then the most dangerous of them all, human. That stuff works. That's how storytelling works. And sometimes it just seems like Helluva Boss can't quite commit to that. And that especially comes out with, I think it's these episodes 7 and 8. This is the big, like, Stolas Blitz breakup arc. And then it's like, okay, we're finally coming to the point of Blitz and Stolas are not good together. Their relationship is not healthy. It's extremely power dynamic and balanced. And it's not good. It's good for them to break up. It's probably the best thing to happen to them in the show. And then, like,
nothing.
Yeah.
The episode that wants to be the ultimate episode of BoJack so badly.
Exactly. Just like finally coming to terms that Blitz has an issue connecting with people. It's a great 2 episodes that are then completely undone by the fact that it seems like they step back everything to focus on, like, oh, but Stolas and Blitz still love each other. And it's just like, no, no.
And Blitz is actually the asshole for rightly is calling out their power dynamic. And, like, here's the thing that kind of, like, annoys me. Stolas is like, I never looked down on you, except those 5 other times I did when I called you my little imp.
The whole, like, the entire morning of the final episode is Stolas being a condescending, like, I am way above all of this.
He's being a brat.
And then Blitz is just like, oh, I love you, sweetie. And it's just like, no!
No, if this is like this season 3, like it feels like things I'm like, this is like not the order where this should go in. Like, I don't like disagree with it, but I'm like, I feel like we're kind of missing a few steps here.
I think that's Vivian's biggest flaw as a writer is don't really know how to take her time setting things up. She has to rush to like certain beats without the connective tissue to get there.
It's like you don't want the steps in like messy. And you know what? It's not just something that's exclusive to her. I've seen God knows how many writers do it. Like even I am, have been guilty of doing that in the past. But it's more like, okay, like I get that you want to eat your cake, but we have to fucking bake the cake first.
I guess I would describe it as the Tumblr situation where you're focusing on so much of the outcome of the fanfic instead of how we get there.
Yeah, which is not how you write.
No. And I'm sorry, but that's what a lot of Helluva Boss's audience is. It's a lot of people, and I'm not trying to say fan fiction is terrible or crap. I've read some really good ones.
Yeah, and I feel like using that as like an insult is kind of insulting to people who are legitimately great writers that have put their blood, sweat, and tears into things. And it's
exactly. Like, I don't mean it as
so dismissive. Yeah, no. I get what you're saying, but especially since, ironically, so many tropes like Mary Sue or whatever that originally came from like female, like women fan fiction spaces have been used to do incredibly misogynistic things.
Yeah.
And like, just to say, let's just be brutally honest here. A lot of the criticism I feel like Vivian faces as a creator isn't legitimate. A lot of it is misogyny. And I don't feel like that's controversial to say at all.
No, absolutely. What, a female creative gain like a bunch of unnecessary, hatefully, and extremely toxic criticism? Never seen it before. No. It happens way too much, y'all.
I don't know her.
It's like the characters are made for an audience to then take for their own use with writing and such. Like to write their own stories. Like fill in the blanks. That's really my issue with that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mad Libs. And like, let's be honest, a lot of Helluva Boss's target audience, I'd probably say more so than has been, is children. Like that probably wasn't the initial intention, but I feel like especially in the fandom, that's why, other than the obvious maturity issues, why so many people are like defensive of these characters, is a lot of it is a mirror, because a lot of these characters aren't, I don't want to say this because I don't want to sound like too mean, but they're not like very deep. It's kind of like the Bella Swan effect. Like you can just self-insert yourself in there, which if you're reading that kind of story, that's fine. Like I don't think Bella Swan's the worst character that ever exists. I think she is designed, at least in the books, to be basically a self-insert that you could easily project your fantasies onto. The movies, that's an entirely different discussion.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's like, again, Mike and I going through every single isekai power fantasy. The ones that stand out are like the author being like, hey, I'm going to make a character who has an arc. And then the audience going like, but I want a harem. I want to be like able to fight God in one step. And it's like, no, but for all the faults that Jobless Reincarnation has, it at least has a plot. It has a character going through change. It is not the best story ever. Going through that show is so like, oh, I'm having a lot of fun. Oh, I'm having a lot of fun.
You have to wade through a lot of garbage to get to the good stuff with that show.
It takes way too long for it to finally be like, oh, I get why people like this show now. Let's get to the most heated question, or probably the most loaded question of this show, because a lot of people are going to either talk about this or get mad at us because we didn't talk about it. Do both shows hate its female cast members? Like, not the voice cast. I'm talking about the female characters of the show. And I don't think as a guy I have a good answer to say. I think a lot of it is what we talked about, saying it's more story structure than anything else that is hurting these characters, not the fact that they are inherently bad characters, or that Vizzy wholly prefers the male characters, even though sometimes, yes, it is sometimes way too much of a Stolas Blitz show. But
I feel like a lot of it is like biased, like I was saying with the brother and stuff, because you have characters like Octavia that I feel like are written perfectly. Like, I feel like that's probably one of the better portrayals that we've seen as a teenager, and it kind of sucks that she's not in the main show more. Like, I feel like if she was more of a regular reoccurring character, the show would be a lot stronger for it. It feels like anytime that there's a chance for a female character to stand out, it's like a missed opportunity. And the fact, I feel like the crux of this argument is Millie. It's just like, Millie, she's Moxie's wife. Like, that's the joke. And I think it's more the fact that Millie is just not a greatly written character. Not so much that she's a woman. It's just because, you know, Moxie kind of suffers from like similar issues, but Moxie gets, you know, more things to do. It's
like Moxie had his own episode to deal with all that, with his abusive father and the history of the shark boyfriend who dated both, like him and Moxie. It's like Millie is like
an afterthought, and like, I don't want to get into spoilers, but like the end reveal at the season 2 finale, I'm like, I don't think they're gonna handle that well at all.
I'm kind of scared of what that's going to be.
Like, I'm sorry. It feels like it's a plot point that comes out of nowhere, but they just needed something literally to because do with
they're
Millie
like,
because
right. It's all like, okay, people are bitching, you know, that we haven't really given Millie to do, and they give her like the most like generic, you know, out of the box, like, this is a comic book B plot.
And then the weird, creepy, misogynistic response to the plot twist. Like, it's not a good plot twist, but the way people have reacted to it is really bad.
You mean she had a normal human response?
It's just like, yo, they are like turning down jobs. They are broke as hell. It's like right now people are like in the world, like in Japan and here in the United States now, since that conversation has creeped it back up over here, where it's like, why aren't enough people having babies? And it's just like, you know, point everywhere around us. And it's like, that's why. Millie, yeah, I feel bad because on paper, I like the idea of Millie being the most competent killer of the bunch. But yeah, it's like she either can't have a plot without Moxie in it, or they cannot let her have her own episode.
I don't like comparing stuff because that's not really how it was intended, but like Millie's a character, like she fails the Bechdel test every time because basically every significant plot point that she has is connected to the plot of a man. But I feel like that's a more Millie specific problem than a Helluverse problem. I just don't think Millie is a very well-written character.
No, I think that's really the thing. It's like people are like, they don't know how to write female characters. And it's just like, it's a little messier than that. Don't black and white this, please. It's complicated, and that's the world we live in. It's complicated. So
I wish that Millie had more episodes where she was the focus and Moxie either wasn't trying to hog the spotlight with his own subplot, or they just need to make Millie more than just the wife.
Because, let's see. Millie gets like a third of a plot during the season 1 where it's like, oh, we finally get to meet her parents and such, and it's all about making sure Moxie leaves a good impression on them. Okay.
Yeah, right. Like the whole episode is like questioning Moxie's manhood. Like that's the whole like A plot of the episode.
I swear to God, if it wasn't for the Norman Reedus cowboy, it probably would have just been my least favorite episode because it's just
Yeah, no, I agree. Like that, I know that's controversial, but it's also arguably true.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And it's weird. I feel like it's like a difficult thing to answer because Helluva Boss doesn't really have a large female cast, or it wants to feel like it has one, but there's not a whole lot of time put into the character. Like we talked about Stella and her whole, like, her execution is what hurts her. It's not because
Yeah.
she's a one-dimensional bitch or anything like that, or whatever people want to say.
No, anything interesting about her, she's reduced to basically a cackling, like, wine mom. Like, she would fit right in on the Real Housewives.
God, a Real Housewives show in the Helliverse, that would be actually a lot of fun. I would love to see.
Please, Viv, hire me. I will write for your show.
Maybe a little too on the nose of it being a Real Housewives parody, but, still. I digress. And then, yeah, Octavia just doesn't have a lot of screen time. And there's not much else. I mean, yeah, there's the Lord of Gluttony.
You mean Beelzebub?
Yeah, Beelzebub. And she's just like Kesha as a furry, I guess. I don't know, like a party girl.
Which, by the way, like, the irony that her character is, like, during the whole trial, the only character that was saying something sane.
Exactly. But no, the, what's the chunky spider clown guy?
Mammon?
Yeah, him just kept taking up too much of the spotlight. Again, what they choose to focus on with this show hurts everything else.
Yeah, it's like the focus problem, because here's like the thing. Most of these stories in terms of like plots or things are like fine. A lot of them are even, dare I say, good. It's just like the focus is all over the place, and it's like I almost kind of feel like, and this is something that I kind of noticed, is that either they only did like one or two drafts and they're like, okay, this is perfect, let's go. Or they didn't use like an outline or a beat sheet. I don't know what it is specific, but it's like very bizarre to me, because I kind of feel like a lot of these problems would have been resolved with like another draft.
Fizzaroli, or however you say his name.
Just call him Fizz.
Fizz. Yeah, exactly. Like, on paper, I love the idea of his arc of being like, a not so subtle wink of how the entertainment industry works, where the big clown spider guy is pretty much a Hollywood executive abusing him with the best musical number. I would say it's the best musical number in the show.
2 minutes notice.
Like, that whole episode, literally, that is like, for me, I was like, wait, is this show actually great? Have I just been like not paying attention? And then the next episode, it's like, oh no.
The musical episode is my favorite, but that's just because I'm such a big fan of Alex Brightman, and he is the star of that episode.
I mean, again, a hugely more interesting character than a good chunk of the cast that they focus on.
No, which is the problem, because like Fizz is arguably like the best character in the show.
Yep.
But he only appears in like a handful of episodes. Which is like the whole problem is for like the show. It's like you hardly know anything about like the main cast, nor do you give a shit about them like other than Blitz and like the people that really, really like Luna.
Like, I love it's interesting where a lot of moment where I was like, wait a minute, I don't care about the main cast was the Fizz 2-parter where I loved his relationship with the Lord of Lust and how there's that whole sequence where he's just like, I'll make breakfast this time. And he's like, no, never again. No. Just a really funny, cute dynamic between the two. I love that the Lord of Lust is extremely consensual with the stuff. He's like, yeah, I don't do love potion bullshit. That's not, no. It's got to be consensual. Which is weird, I guess, for a Lord of Hell, but whatever. I guess it's one of those things where...
Well, I mean, he has his standards. Like, we're in hell, but we're not degenerates.
No, you got a point there. Yeah, there's like no time to bring in like other female characters, and like the last one they bring in is who's been called like Karen Demon or Imp or whatever. Cool,
and
because
she's like literally the worst.
Well, that's the problem with this show also. And it's a thing with Has-Been also, is like, how evil are actually any of these people? Is Karen actually the worst person in that room?
Right.
No.
No, she isn't, but they frame it that way. I'm like, is it a little extreme that she wants to murder him? Mayhaps, but I'm like, dude cheated on him. She fucking died, and he took her kids. Like, like the fact that she, like, oh, she's like a bigot, so I guess, it's justified that, he gets to be like happy, but like, dude, like, you still cheated on your wife, and your wife's dead.
Again, it's just the writing of this show, and who knows, maybe something was going on behind the scenes with season 2 where they just felt like they had to rush everything to get to this point. Again, you're not taking the time to build up the characters in the conflict, so it kind of falls flat. But I love, like, so many of these characters. Again, they bring in, like in the second to last episode, I love meeting Satan, of all characters, who's this big muscle-bound dragon, and yet he still has like a little spiritual life coach next to him who calms him down.
Voiced by Patrick Page, which, thank you.
That's so good.
I love just like every time it's like, what we talked about with negative energy, just let it, like, take a deep breath and let it all out.
I'm sure Patrick Page did during Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
But then, like, in that same episode, they bring in, like, all of the Lords of Hell. They brought in the one for Sloth, and they brought in the one for Envy, which Envy's a cool design. I'm sure that's going to be a pain in the ass to animate if we ever actually get to meet her.
Probably, yeah.
You don't get a whole lot about them outside of, like, oh, Sloth is the Sleeping Beauty trope from Ralph Breaks the Internet, where every time she's on screen, she's just kind of like slowly dozing off and such. And you don't get a whole lot about Envy either. She's just kind of like, haha, nice to meet you. I'm going to move away just from you. So it's frustrating. I like a lot of these characters. There's a lot of cool concepts in it. It just never comes together in a way that I feel like. And who knows, maybe this is just a problem when going with indie animation, when people just don't have the experience of knowing how to write stories or pace things out.
No, I mean, writing takes time, but I feel like you've actually captured my feelings about the show, and I guess to an extent has been perfectly, is that I'm frustrated. Because I see really great shows in there, and I feel like they could be so much better than what they are.
To question it all out, is it a good show? No.
I would say it is a good show with a lot, and I do mean a lot of flaws.
It's a good show, but the stuff that needs improvement is like...
It's rough.
Yeah. I think a lot of the solutions to make this a better show is having another writer or just another team of writers.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have a problem with, Has-Been, but I feel like, considering the circumstances and the fact that, like, Has-Been had, like, 10 writers, the fact that show isn't, like, a complete train wreck is literally a miracle. And I feel like that's the problem of Helluva Boss, is that they need, like, an actual, like, writer's room.
Yeah.
Which maybe they'll get with this deal with Prime, but who knows what's going to happen there. So it's like, I still find myself enjoying this show. I find it consistently funny enough. Like, I think the pilot still has my favorite punchline of just, like, them accidentally shooting the kid before you find out that the kid is actually the target. And the doctor comes out saying, like, what kind of health insurance do you freaks have? And Brandon Rogers is doing a lot of lifting with this show. Yeah. It's like, the fuck is insurance? Like, I guess in hell you don't pay health insurance, which is an oddly ironic thing.
Yeah, because all things get considered, but to kind of stand Brandon Rogers for a second, I feel like Brandon Rogers is like the guy in the internet that most people don't register, that it is like that meme with the little girl getting the gun out of the drawer of the alert. That's a Brandon Rogers bit.
Oh, yeah. I think, like, in the cast is good. As usual, it's always nice to hear Richard Horvitz. And even though he's doing a bit of, like, a lot of his voices, like, combined into one, I like Moxie's straight man relationship with dealing with Blitz. Like, I love Blitz being like, no, I don't want to name any names. Moxie.
And also, he's like the voice director for this show. Like, he does a hell of a job because, like, the voice acting in this show, like, that is the one thing that this show definitely does not have a problem with.
Oh no, not at all.
The voice cast is good. I do question the whole celebrity casting for at least the indie side of Helluva Boss, where it's like, listen, I get it, and maybe you pulled some strings to get in some connections and what have you, but did you really need to hire celebrities when that was probably going to take a huge chunk out of the budget? Again, you have Harvey Gillian, who is a great actor and a very funny actor, and he's only in that courtroom episode for like 3 minutes. And most of the time, it's just basically insulting the Ice Peacock brother, who keeps constantly saying, like, the brother's voice actor is great. I love him just being, like, so supportive and defensive of his sister, but he's also equally dismissive and condescending about her, where he's just like, oh god, thank god you're hot, or else you'd be like,
yeah, I know. Which, by the way, people got upset that there was like an incest joke. I'm like, that's the most obvious joke you can make. Like come on, like, there's some like Jamie and Cersei shit going on. Like, I don't know who you're kidding.
I think that I think it's more of a punchline that they're not doing something like that, which makes it like, that's the joke. They come off like they are absolutely pulling off some creepy incest stuff, but they are not. They're just stupid rich assholes. So it's like,
you know what they remind me a lot of? Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character in Christmas Vacation, and like,
oh my god,
couple.
yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so, again, a lot of great voice performances, good performances in general throughout this whole thing. Again, people will probably go to the episode 7 and 8 for Brandon Rogers and who is Stolas' voice actor?
Bryce Pinkman.
Like, their performances between those two shows are great, even if Brandon Rogers can sometimes lean a little too much on, like, the hyper-aggressive cursing, or, like...
I mean, but that's him. Like, that's his shtick.
Yeah, no, and well, and also, Blitz is hurt, and he doesn't... Well, great concepts. Blitz being his own self-destructive reason behind his lack of connections with people. There's great little tidbits. Like, if you look through the entire apartment that Blitz and Luna live in, all of the pictures that have Blitz in them are crossed out. So it's like, there's a lot of greatness there, but yeah, but a lot of it, like, whatever faults there are carried by Brandon Rogers and Stolas' voice actor. And that those 2 episodes are great. They have great performances where they just let them act. Like, it's not a bit. It's not like just beating a dead horse. Though, I don't know, maybe Blitz is into that, but even though he very
much is.
Though he also has a hyper obsession with horses that is apparently too dark to fully go into. So yeah, it's like, I laugh. I do enjoy watching the show. It's not something I would categorize as a hate watch. It's not something I watch out of being like, oh, I hate it and I'm going to watch it, even though that's just going to pump the numbers up to make it even more popular.
I'm like, why hate watching it? That literally, the amount of limited time we have on this earth, like, why waste your time? And this is kind of like an unrelated side tangent, but in my podcast that I do, Late Crap with my friend Gio, episode 4, we did like the Corman Fantastic Four, which isn't a good movie, but it's also arguably like the best version of Fantastic Four that we've seen so far, which is really depressing. But basically, the revelation that we came through the end, just to kind of give the TDRL on like what happened, is basically ABI read, saw the cut. He's like, no one should see this. This will ruin the Marvel brand, which
you don't need
not even
the
close. But he ordered most of the films destroyed, and basically the only way that you could see it is through like really
bootlegs.
badly aged bootlegs. But like the actual film itself, like, isn't that bad. But it's kind of like the whole thing, and then you have stuff with like, Batgirl, like Coyote versus Acme up until till recently, you know, like who gets to decide, whether something's like good or bad, or whether like your art is valid or not. And I feel like that's a lot of the issue with current discourse, is that either everything has to be 100 out of 10 banger, or it's fucking dog shit. And if you think Helluva Boss is like even towards the latter, that tells me that you haven't really watched anything either besides the 6 to 11 shows on like Disney Channel or like Cartoon Network or whatever. And it's like, you're allowed to like things that have flaws. It's okay. It's fine. It's good to grow your taste. And I feel like people just need to enjoy the show for what it is. Like, it isn't a masterpiece, but I don't think it's a bad show either.
No.
I think the biggest prime, or, the biggest sin of Helluva Boss is the fact that it came out first. And then after other pilots and shows came out, it used Helluva Boss as a blueprint of what to do and what not to do. And that's its biggest crime. It came out first, and it's going to be extremely, looked at, under really critical microscopes and stuff. And that's really it, y'all. It's not the worst show. It's not the best show. It has a lot good going for it. It has a lot of bad that's holding it back. And yeah, maybe it's because Vizzy's an artist first and not a writer first, which Mike and I, of course, talk about all the time. It's all about story in the end. That's really the biggest issue. It doesn't have a great story. And yeah, like you said, it doesn't have to be 100 out of 100 or whatever. It's a story that could be better. That's all. But who knows what's going to happen with season 3 and 4. And the fact that now both shows don't have to side-eye one another and can cross over with each other. So, and when it's funny, it's really funny, especially that teaser trailer where Blitz was just like, yeah, we got Moxie, we got Millie, we got Luna, we got whatever the fuck this guy is. And it's like, we got the bird guy, we got this other bird guy. It's all good. It's like, it's really funny. Sometimes it can focus too much on the comedy in its tryhard, but it's fun. It's a fun show to watch. That's why it's still popular. Nobody's asking for this show to end. It's just, some people just want it better. Even the most hypercritical videos I've seen of this show are
they just want it to be better.
I still like watching it. Sorry, I made it look like it was complete dog shit, but I still love watching it. So,
I mean, sometimes we like a little garbage, garbage.
Exactly. But I think that'll be it. If you like what we talked about, maybe we'll do this with other shows and such. But for now, next time, Mike and I will be talking about some anime films and maybe a little bit of Star Wars and some fantasy. But that's it for this one.
And until next time, first of all, Bree, thank you for joining us. Where can everyone find you?
If you wish to find me in my void of darkness, you can find me at Crazy Lemur. That's social. I am also on Instagram on Lemur's Rule 1, where I do have puppy content from time to time, and I also write and edit. So if you want me to work on some stuff for you, just hit me up.
And Cameron, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Cam's Eye View. I have a website called camseyeview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I am also a writer for Media Magpies, your new destination for media conversation and criticism. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.